What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back for some more match preview streams for you guys as Tottenham face Aston Villa. 2 o'clock kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday, New Year's Day. So, any New Year's resolutions from you, Sim?
New Year's resolutions? Good question. New Year's resolutions for me? I haven't thought about it. Put me on the spot a bit. I don't know. Probably too many. Too many
to talk about. But I think there's definitely needs to be some New Year's resolutions from Daniel Levy and the club, that's for sure, which we'll obviously get into in a bit later on with the Tottenham update and everything. But we are focusing on the Aston Villa game today. It's a really important game. There's no two ways about it. Aston Villa coming into this rejuvenated under Unai Emery, albeit they did lose in their game back against Liverpool. Spurs stuttering along at the moment, really. We just can't afford to keep going 1-0 down, 2-0 down, and keep trying to claw our way back into games. I mean, what? I can't put my finger on what is actually happening in games, because you see such good sides to Tottenham every single game, but equally you just see such bad sides to Tottenham, and it's just like, how do we stamp this out of our game?
And you don't know what's the real Tottenham. Is the real Tottenham the one that gets penned back at the beginning of games and is under pressure and ends up usually conceding the first goal? Or is it the one that we see in the second half that shows character, that dominates possession, that creates lots of chances and ends up getting back in the game? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is at the moment, but Kulusevski's been banging the drum about how it's not good enough how we're starting games, and it's not how we're intending to start games, and it's not a game plan like maybe some people have been suggesting, start slow and then maybe to conserve energy or whatever. It's very, very difficult to put your finger on. He said if we knew why we were doing it, then we would stop doing it immediately, but it's more complicated than that. That's the reality. So Conte needs to get to grips with why this is happening.
What could it be down to, though? Like, what could the issues be? Because how hard is it to stay? We're going to start the game fast, strong, go at it. Why can't they just pretend they're 1 or 2-0 down from the off?
Great question. I mean, it's not. Look, clearly playing in Premier League football is never easy, and it's not an easy thing to do.
Of course.
But why? But they've shown, this team have shown that they're capable, that they can play good football, they can dominate possession when they need to. It's almost as if they're just scared at the beginning. They don't know how to approach games, whether they're going they're for some reason trying to keep things tight, maybe trying to protect the defence because they're scared that the defence isn't good enough, and then all of a sudden when we're 1-0 down, it's like, okay, we know what we have to do now. We're just gonna go forward, we're going to throw caution to the wind, we're going to get players in the opposition half. Or is it the opposition that is dictating things? Are they pressing us high? Are they forcing us back? And then once they get ahead, they drop deep and allow us back in the game. There's two ways of looking at it. I'm not really sure which one it is, and I'm not sure the management know which one it is either at the moment.
Well, sooner rather than later, we need to stamp this out of our game, because when games come around, like the Bournemouths, the Brentfords, teams in the bottom half, we're more than capable of turning it around. But it's the problem when we play the teams in the top 6 and the teams that are in and around us. We just can't seem to turn those games around. Obviously, it's Villa this weekend, so it's not going to be an easy game. But I do suspect if we do go 1-0 down early, we can turn it around. It's one of those games that, it's possible to do. But when you're looking at the form of the two sides coming into it, you've got Tottenham in the last 5 games, 2 draws, 2 wins and a loss. You've got Aston Villa on 2 losses, a win. 3 losses, a win and a draw. If you can you bring up the form graphic? You got Aston Villa scoring 5, conceding 9 in their last 5 games. You got Spurs 11 goals scored, 8 conceded. I mean, 8 conceded in their last 5 games. That is nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. But Spurs coming into this with fairly good home form, with 2 wins, 2 draws and a loss. Villa, on the other hand, not such great away form. But a lot of those games were not under Unai Emery. And how do you assess Villa since they've maybe changed to Unai Emery?
Big improvement, more organised, a lot harder to beat, a lot harder, in my opinion, to break down when the opposition had the ball. They seem to have a more of a system in place now under Unai Emery. I think Gerrard struggled to get the balance right between the players on the pitch, having two strikers, having Philip Coutinho and Buendia there as well, having wingers like Bailey in the squad. He didn't quite know how to deal with it. He didn't know what he wanted. He kind of wanted everything. He wanted to kind of have his cake and eat it too. He wanted them all on the pitch. And it left him far too open in the back. He added, sometimes he would play a diamond with 3 centre mids, and they would be far too open on the wings because their wing fullbacks weren't good enough to dominate the wide areas. And I think Unai Emery now, it's early days, but I think they've won 2 of the 3 games he's taken charge. So they have to be optimistic that they have a manager who knows what he's doing. He's got European pedigree. He had a good time at Villarreal and Sevilla. And I think, give him the tools, he will make Villa into a good side. Whether they'll be good enough under his tenure to break the top 6 remains to be seen. It's very, very difficult to do that. But Unai Emery has shown to be a very good tactical manager who is always, look what he did with Villarreal last season, getting them to the Champions League semi-final. Really good achievement that was for them. And I think he's going to make Villa very organised, very resolute. And when they do go forward, when they have the chances to get forward on counters, and they're going to have more set patterns than they did under Steven Gerrard. And under Gerrard, I feel like it never really worked. And I think he's going to get them into a system they all understand and they can all get better at. And playing the 4-4-2 like he did at Villarreal, I think it's probably the best way. And I think he's right when he went in terms of not playing Coutinho. I think that's the right decision, in my opinion, because I don't think, first of all, I don't think he's that good anymore. And second of all, I don't think in Unai Emery's system he has a natural position.
A lot of Spurs fans were laying into the club for not getting Coutinho, not getting a Leon Bailey. Do you think that's now been justified, seeing how they've been at Villa?
Leon Bailey, I don't know who was going mad at us not getting Leon Bailey, but Coutinho, I never wanted him. I think that was the right decision to not go for him. And I think it's turned out exactly how I thought it would turn out at Aston Villa. 100% it's justified not getting those 2 players. Coutinho was never going to be a great signing for Villa. He's been a player who in spurts can show moments of quality, but on a consistent basis will more often than not let you down. And that's exactly what's happened. And now it's no surprise that the rumours are that he's going to be out the door. They're looking to sell him already, potentially even on a free. So let's be honest, it's been pretty much a disaster. Gerrard's been sacked who signed him. He's now out of the team, and he might be gone within a year. And they signed him permanently in the summer as well for like 20 million.
Have you seen the back and forth? Well, not the back and forth, but the comments made by Unai Emery on Emi Martinez in the Villa goal. I mean, I don't even know if it's comments made, but there's been a few rumours floating around from Unai Emery not being happy with Emi Martinez, what he showed at the World Cup in terms of his shithousery and mentality and stuff like that. Do you read too much into that in terms of maybe Spurs maybe looking at him?
I don't know if that will mean that Spurs are going to get him. He did make some comments in his press conference last week. And he said about his celebrations, he said it's something he's going to have to talk to him about. People can read whatever they want into those comments. I don't think it's way too early to suggest that because of those comments, he's now going to want Martinez to leave and Spurs are going to go for him and going to get him. I think that's jumping to way too many conclusions. But maybe there is something in the air there with how Martinez reacted. And if Unai Emery doesn't appreciate maybe a lack of professionalism or whatever he's thinking in terms of Martinez's reaction to the World Cup. But
does stuff like that bother you? Like in a case of if Spurs were to sign him, is that anything against him, or you don't really care about that whatsoever?
I don't care. He's won a World Cup. I mean, he's entitled to be on top of the world and to push the boat out a bit. And Mbappe's a big boy; he can take it. You know what I mean? He's not going to be crying at night because Martinez had a picture on him on a doll or whatever it was. Like, it is what it is. He's won a World Cup in 2018. Like, I'm sure he'll be gutted he didn't win the final, but I don't think it's going to affect him. And I think Martinez, emotions are high after such a big achievement for his country, and he celebrated a lot. And I don't think, for me, it doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Fair enough. Looking at the head-to-head between Spurs and Aston Villa, last 5 Premier League games, 4 wins and a loss, with that loss coming right at the end of the season last year in a 2-1 loss. Looking at the head-to-head, obviously we have had quite big success against Villa since they've come back into the Premier League. But how different is this one going to be under Unai Emery? Probably the best manager they've had since coming back in the Premier League.
Very different philosophies as well. These are under Dean Smith and Steven Gerrard we faced. If you remember the game at Villa Park last season, we won 4-0, but we could have easily been 4-1 down in the first half. Hugo Lloris really kept us in that game, and we ended up winning 4-0. And if you think about it, if you get that performance and get a bit more organisation in the back line and maybe a bit more luck in front of goal, that's what Unai Emery is going to coach into them. And look, obviously we're at home, so the fans are going to be on our side, and the pressure's going to, hopefully, our home form's been pretty good this season. So you would think that hopefully it means that Villa are not going to be as much on the front foot as they were maybe in that game at Villa Park. But they have the tools. Bailey, Watkins, Ings, good players. And if you allow them too much time and space and to get good quality, the main thing is they allow them to get good quality delivery into the front players, especially with how our centre-backs are playing at the moment, we're in big trouble. And we could easily concede goals. Also, we got the tools to hurt them going the other way, and I really believe their defence can definitely be got at. I don't think their defence is that strong, especially personnel-wise. I think structurally-wise, it has improved and will improve more under Unai Emery. But going forward, you just got to be very wary because they got really good forward players, and under a structured system like Unai Emery has, if they can get the forward players involved as much as possible and keep that defensive structure, it's going to be difficult to play against.
Yeah, it will be, and it kind of, when you look at the way Spurs are playing their football over the past season, to be honest, when you look at how Unai Emery likes to set up his teams, he's obviously defensive first, and he's always brings a good defensive structure to the team. So
very compact.
Yeah, very compact team. So if we do go 1-0, 2-0 down early, it's going to be so hard for us to get back into this game, as opposed to maybe when you look at the back end of before the break when we got back against Leeds in the 4-3 game, or the Bournemouth game, or even the Brentford game last week.
Yes and no. I think they've shown to be quite compact against Man United and against Brighton, and they did
concede 4 goals to Man United in the cup game, didn't they?
Yes, after being 2-1 up as well, they lost 4-2, and then obviously they lost 3-1 to Liverpool, where they did concede quite a few chances. There's 2 drawbacks to being compact and defensively resolute. There's 2 ways of looking at it. Yes, they're going to be harder to break down, but on the flip side, you also envisage if they go 1-0 down, they're going to drop back into their defensive shape and they're going to drop deep, and that will give us more time and space, and we have quality to hurt them, especially if we can get really out wide, which is if they're compact, if we can get the pitch as wide as possible, especially if they're going to play people like Ashley Young at fullback. I think that would be a recipe for disaster for them if they allow us to dominate possession, in my opinion.
And that just proves how important Heung-min Son and Kulusevski are going to be in this game. And Heung-min Son, I've seen a lot of people talking about how poor he was against Brentford. In my opinion, I thought he was one of our most dangerous players going forward in the game, and I thought he played a fairly good game. I thought he was even better than Kulusevski. Even Kulusevski had an assist and had a few moments during the game, fair enough. But I thought Sonny was looking fairly sharp, especially in that second half. Yes, in the first half, he was holding on to the ball for a bit too long and always looking to run through the heart of the midfield and the defence, and maybe holding on to the ball for a bit too long. But I thought he played well in that second half, and Kulusevski also grew into the game second half. So how important are those 2 players going to be for us?
Massively, and because coming into the wide areas and especially playing in those little pockets in between the centre back and the wing back, they're going to be vitally important to creating space. And when they do pick up the ball in those tight areas, they need to make something happen. They need to pass a move or beat a player, especially I think Kulusevski in those areas. He's so good in those areas because he's very quick, nimble, but he's also very strong, doesn't get shoved off the ball too easily. So they're going to be mightily important, especially if Aston Villa are sitting deep and they're trying to frustrate us. They're going to be the players either if we get it to the wing back, they need to be getting in the box and being a threat in the box, or if they're getting the ball to feet outside the area, they need to be picking out little passes, getting shots on goal, and making things happen. And they're going to be two very, very important players in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. If you bring up the predicted lineup for Aston Villa, 4-4-2. Emery Martinez has been, Emery confirmed in his press conference that he's going to be playing.
Well,
right?
the assumptions are that he's going to be ready for contention. I don't think he's confirmed it in a press conference, but I'm pretty sure that that's the journalists are reporting that he's expected to return.
So Emery Martinez in goal, a back four, which will be the same back four which they played against Liverpool, with Ashley Young right back, Luca Dean left back, with Concert and Mings in the middle. The only change that we've gone for is Danny Ings to come in for Kamara and to move Danny Ings up top, Bailey onto the wing, with Buendia on the other side, with Douglas Luiz and McGinn in the middle, with Watkins and Ings up front. Buendia and Bailey, tricky customers. In the middle, McGinn and Douglas Luiz, always really hard workers. It's going to be that midfield battle is going to be interesting, isn't it? I'm assuming Bentancur is still going to be out for this game, so I assume that it's going to be Bissouma and Højbjerg. And how do you think they're going to stack up against Douglas Luiz and McGinn?
I still think they stack up favourably. I know they struggled against Brentford, but against Brentford, it was a 3-on-2. I think if Unai Emery's smart, I think he plays a midfield three. I don't know how he fits it in, but I do think he brings in a third centre mid, keeps Kamara, McGinn, and Luiz, and takes out one of Buendia or Bailey.
I mean, he could even,
or a striker even.
He could even leave Ings on the bench like he did against Liverpool and just play a 4-3-3 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would do if I was him, because I think he needs to win that midfield battle, and he needs to that in terms of formation-wise, not necessarily personnel-wise, but in terms of formation-wise, you could get that is a weakness there for us. When we do get outnumbered, we do lack control. We tend to sometimes struggle to get close to the opposition, and especially when they got good technical players. So that's what I would do if I was doing Emery. If he was to keep with his 4-4-2. I think with the two in the middle, if that's just a match-up, I do back us to win that battle. And then all of a sudden, you've got 5 forward players, if you include the wing-backs, spreading the pitch very, very wide. And it's going to be very difficult for Aston Villa to deal with. So I do see the midfield battle being a big element to this game. And in my opinion, if Unai Emery is clever, that he would play midfield 3.
In terms of the next slide, where we've got the ones to watch, we've picked out Leon Bailey and Ollie Watkins. 3 goals each, with Watkins having 3 assists and Bailey having 2 assists. With Ollie Watkins, he's a bit of a strange player because he's a very streaky player, isn't he, where he can go on a form of scoring 2 or 3 games in a row and then we won't see him for a couple of weeks. And I think he flatters to deceive a little bit. I think he's a really good player, Watkins. He just needs to find a bit more consistency to his game.
Yeah, I like him. He's big, he's tall, he's pretty quick. I don't think he has the best finishing ability. I think his finishing ability is quite average. Whenever he scores goals, it's usually his physicality that gets him in the scoring position, which isn't a problem. But I don't see him nestling shots from tight angles into the side netting very often. He's usually getting headers on goal, which is good. He's getting his physicality to get beyond defenders and get in behind. I don't think he's the best finisher though. But I do think he's a good physical striker who's quite a handful, and I think his build-up play is decent. He's good at bringing people into play. So I do think he's a good striker. I don't see him though being any better than a mid-table Premier League striker. I think he might have the odd season where he gets between 15 and 20, but I think that's going to be the exception rather than the rule, in my opinion. He's probably going to be like a 10-goal a season kind of striker. That's why I envisage Ollie Watkins, which is fine, which is good which is for a team like Villa, it's probably good to have a striker like that. But I don't see him being a potential top 6 striker, in my opinion, at the moment anyway, unless he develops a lot more.
With the physique that he has and with the aerial ability that he has, what's his hold-up play like, and how is he with bringing other players into play? Because I feel like that's like the strong part of his game.
Yeah, he's good. He is really good at that. He gets, as you say, 3 assists he's got this season. If you get the ball to his chest and he can control it and hold it up, and he's strong, so he can hold people off, and he's good at bringing players into place. And I think he plays better with a partner, with someone like Danny Ings. He can do the role up front by himself, but I don't think. I think his performances are better with a striker than by himself, in my opinion. Although he can do that job fairly well, but he's a strong lad, so he can be a real handful, and he makes good runs at the near post. He makes sharp movements, but I just don't think his finishing ability is top notch. That's what lets him down a bit, in my opinion.
Is it a case of, like, if you can keep Watkins, if we just say to Christian Romero, who's going to be a massive plus for us coming back this weekend, by the way, and Kuti Romero, if you get him to just be so aggressive up against Watkins, don't let him bring the ball down, don't let him bring other players into play, then you can stifle Villa quite well.
Yeah, I think if you saw the game against Liverpool, they were getting some really good deliveries into Ollie Watkins, and if his finishing was a bit better, they probably would have got more goals than they did. But I wouldn't necessarily think just being aggressive against Watkins is what would do it for you, because I do think they've got some other good players, which I think are more important to stifle, in my opinion, than Ollie Watkins. But him being their main striker, if you stifle him, then it's going to be a lot more difficult for Aston Villa for sure. But Leon Bailey, for me, since Unai Emery's come in, and even just before then, he was showing flashes of the quality he showed in the Bundesliga. He's got a dynamite of a left foot if given the opportunity. He really does. And it's all about if he can find the space to run at players and get shots off, because if you allow him that, he's difficult to stop.
What's happened to Bailey, though? Like, he came with a big reputation from the Bundesliga. Obviously, he's scored a bag of goals, got a bag of assists. He hasn't really seemed to get in the team consistently enough and produce enough on the pitch that we know that he can. Yeah,
I mean, Bundesliga we've seen, I think maybe Timo Werner's case in point in this. The Bundesliga is a very open league. You get lots of attacking opportunities. You get lots of space to play. And every team, it seems, in the Bundesliga plays like high pressing, plays with a lot of risk.
They all score a lot and concede a lot.
Basically, everyone plays with the high line, and that suits someone like Leon Bailey and Timo Werner, using their pace, getting in behind, and getting finishing ability. Premier League's very different. It's a lot more physical. You've got players a lot nearer to you. You've got to be able to hold players off. You've got a lot less space to play in. Albeit there are some games where you do get space, but it's not as much as the Bundesliga. So he will be effective in a lot of games, but he's got to adapt his game. And I think his close control isn't so great. When he's looking to hold players off, I don't think he's the strongest. And that's led to a lack of effectiveness in a lot of Premier League games. But when he has had the opportunity to show off his left foot, when he has had the opportunity to get shots on goal from outside the box, he's shown he's still got that finishing ability. And if he can adapt his game to use his strength more and have a bit better close control, I do believe Leon Bailey could. I think in terms of the Villa squad, he's got one of the highest ceilings in that squad if he adapts his game. But right now, he's kind of struggling a bit to adapt to the Premier League, and that's a shame for him. Is this his first season or second season?
Second, I believe, yeah.
Second season.
Didn't they sign him last January?
No, they signed him in the summer, I believe.
In the summer. Yeah, so second.
Yeah, didn't really do it last season. But under Unai Emery, I think it's a clever move from Emery, what he's doing. He's putting him in a more central position up front, getting him in more areas where he can get shots on goal instead of being... Because I don't think he's much of a winger. He's more of a winger who cuts inside and shoots. He's not really a winger who puts crosses in the box as much, although he did put in a few good ones against Liverpool. But if you want to maximise his effectiveness right now, get him in central areas, get him running in behind, and getting in as many shooting positions as possible. And I think that's where you're going to get the best of him.
I'm looking at his stats now. I mean, for Bayer Leverkusen, he was getting... in his first full season there, 9 goals, 7 assists. Second season, 5 goals, 1 assist. Then 5 goals, 3 assists, and 9 goals, 8 assists. Last season for Villa, only 18 games he managed with 1 goal, 2 assists. And this season already, 3 goals and 2 assists in 15 games. So it's getting better and is getting more used to the Premier League. But how do you see the game going on Sunday, and what's the score going to be?
I think we'll win. I think Unai Emery will get this team playing well, but I do think they've shown. I know they beat Man United, but in my opinion, they got quite fortunate in that game to win. I think, to be honest, I think they got a fortunate win against Brighton as well, and against Liverpool. You could argue that was probably their best performance, but they ended up being quite open and conceding a few goals and being profligate in front of goal. So I do see us conceding. I think Aston Villa have started, as in results-wise and confidence-wise, they've started well under Unai Emery. They haven't quite got it clicking just yet in terms of like getting the tactics ready, up to speed and everything. So I do see us conceding with their talent, but I think we're going to have too much for them going forward. So I'm going to go 3-1 to Spurs, and hopefully I think the wide areas will be very important. Stretch the pitch as much as possible, in my opinion, and I think the gaps will start to open up in the central areas, and that's where we're going to make them pay. So I'm going for a 3-1 win.
Yeah, I'm going for 3-2 to Spurs. I think we will concede a couple of goals with the talent that Villa have, and we all know Spurs' defence is just not playing well at the moment. Very shocking. But I think Cuti Romero will come in, and hopefully we'll see the Cuti Romero that we saw at the World Cup, or the latter stages of the World Cup anyway, and it can help to stifle Villa a bit more. But I think it might take Cuti a couple of games maybe to get into the rhythm, and he's probably still in party mode after winning the World Cup, so we'll see what happens there. But I think it's going to be a classic ding-dong battle that we've seen with Spurs over the past 6 or 7 games, and I think we will get the 3 points, but I'm going to go 3-2 to Spurs, and hopefully we can go on a bit of a run. We just need to get 3 points. I don't care how it comes this weekend. Just get those 3 points, and let's go on a bit of a run now. But I'm going 3-2. My brother's going 3-1. I want to know your score predictions in the comment section below. We will be taking callers after the match preview as well, so link is in the community section if you're a gold member. So go scroll down the community section and click that link. Come and join us for a chat. But let's get into BetMate before we move on to the guests. And just to let you know, BetMate is a really fun to play fantasy gaming app. £450 guaranteed pot in the Tottenham Aston Villa League this weekend. The code for the league is FFTOTAVL, and if you want a free £5 and you're a brand new user, all you need to do is use the promo code WATTV5 and come take us on in the Tottenham Villa pot this weekend. But let's get into our individual teams, and we'll give you the reasoning why we've picked those teams. Let's start off with Sim's team, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I've gone for Lloris in goal because I think he's going to go straight back into the Spurs team, and I think I believe we're going to concede less than Aston Villa, and he might make a few saves. So I've gone for Lloris in goal. Back two of Perisic and Longley, both able to link up with each other, and Longley put in some beautiful crosses.
Great assist,
Brentford.
wasn't it?
He got a great assist nearly in the second one as well. Perisic as well, I thought was quite effective against Brentford, and I think him up against Ashley Young, I think could be good news for Tottenham. Midfield, I've gone for Kulusevski captain and John McGinn. I think McGinn makes quite a few tackles and he's a bit of a bull in the china shop, so I do think he can get some points. And Kulusevski, I think, is our creative hub. And then up front, Son and Kane. Who else with Kane vice captain?
All right, and now let's move on to my team. And I've picked Hugo Lloris in goal, like my brother said, back in the side this week, and I just think he's more likely than Martinez to make the clean sheet, albeit I don't think either of them will. But Lloris is always good for a couple of saves. In defence, I've gone for Perisic and Doherty. I think they're both going to start as wing-backs, and Perisic was really involved in the game at Brentford, and I thought he put in a really good display, putting in really good crosses. Doherty wasn't that great against Brentford, but I do expect him at home to have a much better performance. In the midfield, I've gone for Dejan Kulusevski as vice-captain, who I think is definitely going to have a few contributions in this game. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. In the midfield, I've gone for Højbjerg as well, who's very combative in the middle, and he's doing really well with his goal contributions at the moment. Got another goal at Brentford, and he's always good for his tackles and interceptions, which you get points for in this game. And then up front, I've gone for captain Harry Kane, who's the man in form at the moment, and alongside him, I've gone for Danny Ings, who was on the bench against Liverpool, but I expect him to start in this game, and he's always a goal threat. And I think he's got a fairly good record against Spurs as well in Danny Ings. So that's my team. That's Sim's team. Let us know if you're going to be taking us us on in the comment section below and let us know your teams, and look forward to taking your money this weekend. No, I'm joking. It's going to be a good fun playing this game. Always enjoy it.